It's a little bit of maction in our game time decisions this time around. It's Ohio versus Ohio State as the Buckeyes close out their non-conference schedule. I'm Steven, that's Andrew, and that's Stefan. And we'll be there as we do every single week. The things we think might decide the game. Not sure it will decide the game this time around, but it is something we want to see from Ohio State. It's a little bit more football-y that we just think matters in the grand scheme of Ohio State trying to repeat as national champions. What do you want to see in the game against your alma mater, Andrew?
I see. Well, first off, you said maction, and I'm very excited to see maction. I think it'll be a little different. There's going to be a little bit more than 217 people in the crowd. And
what if there's not? What if something happens and there's only us and it's COVID all over again? I've covered a game like that. It sucked.
I've covered games in COVID that had more people than a MAC Wednesday night game in Athens, Ohio, or Bowling Green, or wherever. So Maction would be my number one game time decision. I can't wait to see some Maction. Always down for that. Number two, and less importantly, but also important, I want to see what the running game looks like, because we talked about, the idea of getting the running game started, and maybe that was misplaced, maybe it wasn't, but
you didn't talk about that.
I did. But
We've been telling them
when I say the running game, I'm talking about the running backs, and I'm curious if we see first half touches for Bo Jackson, because Bo Jackson looked pretty athletic. I thought he had a lot of really good burst. I think we have all kind of been talking about him in the spring, but we talked about C.J. Donaldson and James Peoples, and we probably had Peoples 1A, Donaldson 1B. Maybe we had that wrong, and maybe we had the wrong grouping, because maybe Bo Jackson's in that mix. Maybe Bo Jackson is turning a duo into a trio. And I'm curious to see if they think that too. And I think this is a great week for that, because you can get him first half touches when it's 14-0 in the second quarter. When Ohio State is up, 17-3 at 5 minutes left in the first half, okay, let's see Bo Jackson get in the game against Ohio starters, a team that is either favored or second favored to win the MAC, like a team that is pretty decent as far as G5 teams go. This is not like you're throwing them out there against Grambling State when it's 63-0 already. I'm very curious to see what this is, because I think if we see Bo Jackson in the first half, I think we're going to have an inkling that Ohio State's coaching staff is starting to at least come to the realization, or at least is starting the process of Bo Jackson factoring into the mix maybe a little bit sooner than we thought. And frankly, when we get into Big Ten play, maybe Bo Jackson is just one of those guys where we are looking at him as part of the rotation, and not if somebody gets hurt, he's going in the game, or if Ohio State's up by a lot, he's going in the game. I think he might be a part of this, and I think we're going to find out at least maybe a little bit of that on Saturday against the Bobcats.
I would have loved to seen Andrew cover Mike Leach. He's just like, hey, what about the run game? They're throwing it 60 times. Stop asking about the run game. Stefan, what do you want to see?
I had Mike Leach plenty of times tell me, do you want me to run it 50 times and throw it 50 times? And you just have to be like, I don't know, maybe. I don't know. I will say one thing I want to say on that is when we talked about this post game after Grambling, I was saying a lot of what Andrew said just now, of the idea of Bo Jackson factoring into this more. One thing that I want to watch out for with Bo Jackson is the way that Ryan Day talked about him on Tuesday suggested that he's still earning their trust, right? He had that fumble out of bounds late in the Grambling game. They took him out right away, and it's clear that Ryan Day basically said, when he was talking about Bo Jackson, but without directly mentioning Bo Jackson's name, he essentially said, like, oftentimes what you see in the game is probably going on in practice, which tells me that was something that they're concerned about in practice as well. So, like, I agree, if he plays in the first half, maybe more so than seeing how much he factors into the rotation, like, if he plays in the first half, that tells me that he's still gaining their trust and has gained their trust if they're trusting him a little bit earlier in the games. But that is a big thing with him right now, where it's on the field, he showed you everything. But I think there's clearly something going on in practice and probably shown with that fumble that they want that next step before they start putting him, in the first quarter of a tie game against a Big Ten school. So I'm with you. Maybe not so in terms of how he factors into rotation, more so in terms of, like, let's see how he's earning this coaching staff's trust.
Before you give your actual thing, I do want to touch on that. This is apparently we're just going along with everything this week. It's just go along with everything, unless you're running the ball. The one thing I've learned over time being on this beat is how the coaches talk about players, especially when you say a player's name directly. And there's two ways that you can often talk about a player. And what I've learned is if a coach starts, like, hyping him up, That's not because they think they're awesome. I mean, they think they're awesome. Like Riley, I'm going to use Riley Pettijohn as the example. They think Riley Pettijohn's going to be very, very good here. Obviously, eventually. But Riley Pettijohn's probably not going to have a role on the defense this year. So special teams, you keep him engaged, you encourage him in the media and do all those things. You know what's going to happen next spring when all of a sudden Riley Pettijohn might be in the starting unit? Yeah, Riley Pettijohn's got this to work on, this to work on, this to work on, this to work on. I think they need Bo Jackson to be good this year, just like they need James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson to be good this year, because you're both right. I think he's going to have a role this year, which is why he got talked about like that. It wasn't, hey, doing a good job, all those things. It was a little bit more critical, right? Because when you need a guy to play for you, you need to fix the problems now versus a guy who's maybe in the back wing and developing in the background. This is a chance in front of this microphone, in front of the world, to give him some encouragement and go, hey, you're doing a good job, which is why it was a big deal that they gave Riley Pettijohn that Defensive Player of the Year. But you are both right in the it sounds like they need Bo Jackson, which is why that fumble was a big deal and why Carlos Lachlan was snatching him by the helmet and yelling in his ear when it happened.
Yeah, no, exactly. My game time decision revolves around the running game on the other side. In our outrageous predictions, I just talked about, the belief I have in Arvell Reese to really stack up some tackles for loss, because I think they're going to use him as a bit of a spy against Parker Navarro. And that's kind of a big thing that I'm watching, is how they handle another mobile quarterback. They did an awesome job containing Arch Manning and keeping him in the pocket. Parker Navarro's a bit more of a veteran guy, right? Like he's gonna be a bit more comfortable moving around and making things happen. I think that's a huge test, because you get that, you get a bye week, and you get Damon Williams in Washington, which I think that's gonna be a tough test on the road, and you got to be able to contain him as well when you go up against Washington. So I'm gonna be watching how does Ohio State contain Parker Navarro and his running game, and see how that could maybe translate to the Washington game in a couple weeks. So will this determine the outcome of Ohio State-Ohio? Probably not, because I think Ohio State's going to win by a wide margin regardless of how successful Parker Navarro is. But that element of the game could determine who wins Ohio State-Washington.
Yeah. We've said it all week. I think this game is a very good setup to what the Big Ten schedule is going to be. Mine is, where's Caleb Downs before they snap the ball, and then where's Caleb Downs after they snap the ball? I've been thinking about that interception all week and what happened on that play. It's him, Sonny Styles, Riley Pettijohn, and they're all showing blitz. No, I'm sorry. Caleb and Riley were showing blitz. Sonny is not. He's just in the normal base spot of a linebacker. Ball gets snapped. Caleb and Riley Pettijohn drop out. Sonny blitzes. That's the epitome of I showed you one thing and then something totally different happened. And it fooled the guy. He tried to get a quick throw because he thinks they're blitzing, so he's thinking, oh, that spot right there is going to be open. Replace the blitzer. How many times does the quarterbacks hear that? Replace the blitzer, especially when it's a zone blitz. Try to replace the blitzer. Caleb Downs says, no, this is my ball. I have the first catch of the day for your team. How many more times are we going to see that this year? And I remember talking with Matt Patricia before the season started, and this idea of the reason why Caleb Downs' communication being so great is such a big deal is because of something like that. We don't know for sure if that was what Caleb was supposed to do. It sounds like that's what Riley Pettijohn was supposed to do, because he's a true freshman in that role. I don't know if Caleb Downs was supposed to show he was blitzing and then drop. I don't know if there's going to be a time on Saturday where Caleb Downs is at free safety and then all of a sudden the ball is snapped. It's like, whoa, you're 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. How'd that happen so quickly, right? But Caleb has an ability to free range in his offense because he's so good, because he's so smart, but also because he communicates so well, but because he also might have an evil genius as his defensive coordinator, and we just didn't know it, even though he did it for the Patriots. What if he was the actual genius behind those defenses and not Bill Belichick? I don't know, man. North Carolina looked awful.
Tom Brady who?
Tom Brady started having to score 40 points in Super Bowls and losing when he wasn't there.
Week 3, quote, Tom Brady who? What a season!
Yeah,
what a sport.
Ohio State's off to a good start this year.
I'm just saying, those two together, those two minds and what they're cooking up, and they're trying to balance not showing the world because you're not playing Big Ten opponents yet, but also you got to work on stuff. Mm-hmm. And I do think Parker Navarro is good enough that you can show a little bit more this week of what you're doing with Caleb Downs. What you doing? Where is he lining up? Is he the big nickel? Is he free safety? Is he in the box? Is he looking at a linebacker? Is it the thing we saw against Texas in the Cotton Bowl where if you take a snapshot of it, there's the defensive lines, there's the linebackers, there's Caleb, and there's the safeties? It's where is he on a given play? I feel like it's a game you can play every single week going forward, because when you got a guy that's that smart, working with a defensive coordinator that's that smart, and he communicates the way he communicates, I just think anything is possible, and it feels like he can erase any mistake because of that. 614-350-3315. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. Ohio State, Ohio. If they win, you might not see Andrew Gillis on the post-game pod. If they lose, you might not see Andrew Gillis on the post-game pod, but we will be at the game. Steven, Stefan, Andrew, final non-conference game of the season for the Buckeyes. See you after the game.